Hey guys, this is the Movie Hour. I'm your host Danny, alongside my co-host and sister Vanessa.
Hello. Yay, I'm happy to be here.
The Movie Hour is your friendly neighborhood podcast where we talk and make fun of all our favorite films, the good, the bad, and the downright ridiculous ones. In this episode, we will be talking about one of my all-time favorite films, not just of horror, but of any genre, and that is other than the 1978 classic Halloween.
Ooh. Great movie. Awesome soundtrack. Or score, I guess.
For real. All right, so sit back, make yourselves comfortable, and enjoy this episode of the Movie Hour. So, Halloween is a 1978 film directed by John Carpenter, who I think is an underrated director. He directed other films like Escape from New York, Escape from LA, The Thing, Christine, The Killer Car,
Yeah.
Big Trouble in Little China, and The Prince of Darkness, just to name a few. Halloween stars Jamie Lee Curtis in her film debut. Her mother's the great Janet Leigh.
Oh my gosh. Iconic.
Yeah.
Iconic Scream Queen with her daughter Scream Queen.
The original.
Yes. I mean, she paved the way for all the current Scream Queens as far as I'm concerned.
For real. And I think Jamie Lee is the best.
She kills it.
Yeah.
She's really, really good. I love her.
I think everybody after her is trying to emulate her now.
For sure. Yeah. In layman's terms, she's mother.
Yeah.
And everyone else are her sons.
Hey, exactly. All right. We also got Donald Pleasance, who plays Dr. Loomis. Mm-hmm. Nick Castle as Michael, or the Thing, or the Shadow, I think is actually his name.
Right.
PJ Souls as Linda.
Uh-huh.
And Nancy Kyles as Annie.
Right.
So this has a runtime of 91 minutes, so something you can crush out real quick.
Yes, it's honestly a very fast-paced movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think it, lingers on. So I do appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes they try to drag it on or try to put too much detail.
Right.
And something I like about this movie that we'll talk about later, but I just like kind of the, there's a lot of mystery to it. You don't know why Michael's like hunting down Laurie.
Yes.
You don't know why.
Exactly. I totally agree.
It's later that, the thing where it's his sister.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of like a little tidbit, or maybe something that we don't really realize.
Right.
In the movie. They never explicitly say that they're related.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just heavily implied.
Right.
Never really said, which I kind of enjoy.
Honestly.
I think now, obviously, years past it, we know the plot line, we know how it goes.
Right.
But, I'm sure when it came out, I wasn't alive when this came out, obviously. Neither one of us were.
No.
But I can imagine kind of the anticipation of like wanting to know more about the movie and,
right.
The plot line. So I do like that. That's never explicitly said. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think like films today, I think they go wrong with trying to give too much detail or lore or just background, and sometimes it doesn't need it.
Yeah, sometimes simple is better and more effective.
Exactly. So, anyways, I really like it. I think it's a great film, and so without further ado, let's begin. So the film starts in Haddonfield, Illinois, 1963 on Halloween night.
Good times.
Good times. Judith Myers and her boyfriend are making out. Right?
It's kid stuff.
It's kid stuff. And I like this because it pans to the first camera angle of someone looking in.
Right. Yes.
Right? Of course, you don't know at the time, but it's Michael Myers.
Yes. I forgot how well that first scene is.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Halloween up until now, maybe, a couple years.
Oh, wow.
So I remember the first scene, being really iconic. But I think it being in like that POV, like, being filmed that way, I think it was really interesting and super effective. And I like that they don't necessarily carry that on. It's kind of just in the beginning, which I do enjoy.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I think it just adds on to the nervousness and uneasiness of it.
Exactly. And I think it's interesting that the camera is not perfectly leveled the entire time. It really does truly look like you are in his body, in his eyes, watching what happens. And it's not, a perfect steady camera moving from angle to angle. It truly is like the perfect POV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because he's 6 years old.
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, exactly. So it pans to the POV first person camera angle of someone looking through the window, and they go into the kitchen. Judith and her boyfriend are going upstairs. And he goes into the kitchen and he pulls out a knife. And he slowly starts panning through the house. And right before he gets to the stairs, if you remember, the boyfriend is leaving.
Yep.
So that dude is actually the luckiest guy in the whole series.
Yeah, absolutely. Dodged the bullet.
Exactly. Without even knowing it, he dodged the bullet.
100%.
So Michael goes up the stairs, and I guess it's implied that they had like relations or something because she's like naked.
Right.
Yeah, she's combing her hair, and it just turns around, and she's Michael,
Yeah.
and Michael stabs her. I don't know how many times. I didn't count it, but um, it it wasn't gory at all. Like I kind of remember. No, very tame.
Yeah, it definitely is tame. You could tell that this movie was filmed in the 70s.
Oh yeah,
But I mean, it is interesting, I guess. I mean, in the scene, you could kind of see the knife,
yeah,
kind of being flailed around, but you don't necessarily see like guts or anything like that. So it is interesting.
right. Especially compared to the newer movies. The
Oh
reboots.
man,
Yeah, it's like
oh yeah,
really tame.
yeah, absolutely.
PG. But and then also kind of with that, since the sister Judah, she's naked, it kind of adds to this theme of the 70s and 80s horror movies that these kids that are having sex or like promiscuous or whatever, rebellious if you want to call it.
Yeah.
Somehow they always end up getting killed by the killer.
Absolutely, yeah,
Right?
100%. They always seem to be the target.
Right. and then there's always the all-American girl, which
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis's character is.
Right.
And they somehow are always the final girl.
Yeah.
Right? In these films. So Michael stabs her, and then he goes down, opens the door, and in that moment his parents are pulling up, and they realize just what happened. Michael is then sent to the sanitarium, Smith Grove.
Yep.
Right? Where he's going to be for 15 years. So now we flash forward to October 30th, 1978, which is when the movie came out, present time.
Right.
And we see Dr. Sam Loomis and a nurse. They're driving to Smith Grove, right? And they talk about kind of like how evil Michael is, how he hasn't talked in 15 years. And the nurse says, like, why do you call him it? I don't know if you remember that.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
And it's kind of, I like that little detail because it's just to say, like, he's not a person. He's just evil.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I think that definitely adds to it. Like, it's just one of those small details where it's like when you catch it, it does do a lot. And I think that it helps, with the further sequels and all of that because, as you watch the other movies, it's kind of known that he's not necessarily a person.
Right.
So I think starting from the beginning and calling him as an it kind of reinforces that idea, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I like it because, kind of the less is more approach, like we were saying earlier. I feel like someone like Jason Voorhees from a different series, Friday the 13th, he's kind of sort of the same as Michael. He's a rip off of him, right? He comes a little alien. Or so. He's a rip off. And but they try to give him the tragic story that he was, killed.
Yes.
And just a tragic character. And sometimes I just like Michael's character because he's just evil.
Yeah.
And you don't know why. He's just that.
Exactly.
That's him.
No, I totally agree with that point.
There's a mysteriousness that I like about it. So while they're driving, it's in the rain, and they see other patients out in the rain. Loomis, he gets out because he knows something is wrong to make a phone call. And in that moment, Michael attacks the nurse that's still in the car. And somehow he drives off. And that's the biggest plot hole in the movie. How the hell does he know how to drive?
That is so funny. That's so true, though. I mean, if he was locked up from a child, how would he?
Yeah. Like, how the hell does he drive?
Oh, that's hilarious. That's such a good point.
It's kind of implied later in the film that, like, maybe somebody in that staff, that Smith Grove, they kind of, I guess, were giving him driving lessons. But I'm just like, what?
Yeah, that's an interesting little detail.
Why would they give that guy up?
That's so true.
So, anyway, I thought that was hilarious.
That is hilarious.
So now it's present day, or even more present day. It's Halloween Day, 1978, so October 31st. And Laurie Strode, the all-American girl, is going to school, but she needs to take a key to the Myers house.
Ooh. Scary.
And when she drops off the key, you see Michael's in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course the infamous music starts playing.
Oh, it plays so much.
It does play, and I love it. Oh. I know some people might not be a big fan of it. I personally love it. I think it's just, again, simple and more effective, and less is more in the situation. So the music being so iconic I think it elevates, your blood pressure, gets the heart racing, and does what it needed to do.
Yeah, it's chef kiss. Honestly, I love it too. So they take the key to the Myers house. Michael's in there, and then Tommy Doyle, who's the little kid that Lori babysits. Says like that boogeyman lives there. Something bad happened there, and Lori kind of like throughout the whole film just doesn't really pay too much attention to that. Just it's on with their own stuff, teenage stuff.
Exactly.
Right. So Dr. Loomis and another doctor from the Smiths Grove discuss what happens in Haddonfield. And they say that it's 150 miles away, so, that's what? That's almost 3 hours away.
Yeah.
It's a good distance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we flash forward to Lori being in class. She's bored, right? And she looks outside and she sees the car that was stolen the night prior.
Yes.
And I like how just ambiguous it is, because you don't really see Michael in there.
Right.
You see someone's in there, but you don't know like it's him. It could just be someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then you don't see too much of them being in school. So the little kids get out of school, and there's some bullies that are messing with Tommy, and they make him fall on his pumpkin, smashing it.
Oh.
And he was really sad because he was telling Lori that he wanted to carve pumpkins.
Yeah, that is sad.
Whatnot, right? Yeah. And then we get the iconic scene of one of the bullies running into Michael, and he like kind of grabs him, and then you ding 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 ding.
So good.
So good.
Such a good scene.
And then you pan to Michael getting in the car. Well, actually, no, he's not getting in the car. He's just following him for a bit.
Right.
Tommy. Yes. And then, boom, nothing else happens. So Loomis, knowing what's going to happen, he calls Haddonfield and notices that Michael has already killed a mechanic, just a random mechanic. That's why he's wearing the blue jumpsuit.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get introduced to Lori's friend group, which is Annie.
Yep.
And Linda.
Mm-hmm.
And they're super different than Lori. Lori's just your typical all-American girl. Good student, comes from a good family.
Yeah, definitely kind of like the quote-unquote good girl. Yeah. She does what she's told.
Yep.
Does her homework.
Yeah.
Babysits, neighbors. Just kind of, like you said, all-American, good girl, while the, ladders are not maybe that way.
Right. Especially Linda, the blonde.
Yeah.
She's very hedonistic, where she just wants to have sex with her boyfriend. That's basically what she wants.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Annie wants the same thing, but her boyfriend is grounded, if you remember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically very contrasting, which again plays into that theme of like these sex crazy teens getting killed first,
100%.
Yeah. And Michael passes by them in the car. Again, hilarious that he's in the car.
I know, that is funny.
Just driving. And then Annie says, "Speed kills."
Yep.
And he just steps on the brakes, and they're just looking, and she's like, "Oh, crap."
Yeah, God, can't you take a joke?
Yeah, can't you take a joke? And then he just leaves. But, I kind of like this, this is my favorite scene in the whole movie. This whole sequence when they're coming home from school. Just because, like, it almost plays like, is Lori really having, like, is she really seeing him?
Yeah.
Because all the other girls don't see him.
Yeah, exactly. He just is nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And they're looking at her like, are you crazy? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, and then even with that car, they're just like, it's just he couldn't take a joke.
Exactly.
Like,
they just brush it off.
So it kind of adds to the, like, is she really seeing Michael, or is it just in her head?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
So I like that. Yeah. And then you see these little tad bits where he's kind of peeking out the bush.
Yes.
And he's like, whoa, who's that? And Annie looks up and who?
Yeah.
Someone behind the bush. And she goes and sees nobody.
Right. I do like that scene.
Yeah. And then Lori runs into Sheriff Brackett, which is Annie's dad. He's the local sheriff. And then, anyway, she gets home and notices the windows are open. She goes to close them, and by the clothesline, she sees Michael again.
Man, that's a good scene.
It is.
I really like it. And I could see how this is kind of like the precursor to a lot of modern horror movies.
Yeah.
Doing the whole, clothesline, even like it. Like, they take inspiration from that. It's so simple, but it is really scary, honestly. I mean, if you put yourself in those shoes and you look down on the ground to your clothes hanging and you see someone standing there, you're gonna be spooked.
Yeah, and the scary part is this is all happening in daylight.
Exactly. That is such a good point. This
Yeah.
is all happening in daylight, which, I mean, is it better than it being in like midnight? Sure, but it's still pretty creepy.
To me, yeah, it's honestly more creepy because you feel more secure during the daytime, right? At
Absolutely.
night, obviously your guard is kind of down, and or I guess your guard is up,
Right.
because it's a scary situation, darkness and all that. But in the daytime, your guard is down.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like this is even scarier, seeing all
very
this
scary.
in plain daylight and no one else is seeing what you're seeing.
That's really is the worst part. Nobody else can, you talk to about this.
You're right. So it starts becoming a cat and mouse game, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the phone rings, and she's already nervous, so she answers and hangs up because no one answers. And then the phone rings again, and it's Annie, her friend, calling. And I just like it, like, just to keep going on, that it's kind of like, is Lori really losing it? Is this really happening? Because she's just freaking out, and basically whatever she's thinking or seeing is not what other people are seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So then we spawn into Dr. Loomis. He arrives in Haddonfield, and he's looking for Judith Myers, which is Michael's big sister, gravestone, and is missing.
Right.
So now we know Michael is home.
Yeah.
Right? Lori and Annie are then driving, and they're smoking weed, and typical, like, it's like a 70s, big time 70s thing.
That is funny.
And I like it because, like, you can just tell Lori's not into it.
Yeah,
She's
no,
like
definitely not.
smoking, but she's like coughing and not really into it.
Absolutely.
And what I love is that they're listening to it, and very faintly you can see "Don't Fear the Reaper."
Yes, I'm so glad you brought this up because I never recalled this song in the movie. And granted, it is kind of muffled a little bit. I mean, they're in a car, but man, that's a good song.
It is a good song.
So when I heard that song, I got a little excited. I was like, I want to be called that. And you did.
Oh, dude, I got hyped when I heard it. I was like, whoa, I don't remember this.
Right, I know. It's just one of those details where I'm like, all right, that's cool.
So they're driving, smoking weed, and they go to, or they see Annie's dad at the local store.
Yes.
And it's been vandalized, and they stole a mask, rope, and knives. So
ooh, nothing good.
Nothing good.
That.
No. And again, just keep going on to this theme of, like, the dad just brushes it off as just teenagers just effing around, basically. Right. Like, so it just keeps adding on to that theme of, like, is it a real person?
Yep.
Right? And what I like about this scene, too, is, like, Dr. Loomis, he comes and talks to the sheriff, and Michael's in the background.
Right.
And he's in the car, and he sees him, and he drives, and Dr. Loomis doesn't see him at all.
You're right.
Right. And the car's pretty noticeable because I think on the side it says something like Grove Field or...
Yeah, it has some sort of, like, branding on it.
Right. So, Lori and Annie are talking, and she kind of says, like, well, you're just, like, all into books and this and that.
Right, the lame stuff.
Yeah, the lame stuff. And then Lori's like, well, I do like someone. I like Ben Tramer.
Ooh, Ben Tramer. Woo, woo, woo.
So the reason I brought this up, or I even discussing this, is you haven't seen the second Halloween, right?
I think I have, just not in a very, very long time.
Okay. Well, in Halloween 2, this is a spoiler, but, it happens that same night of the original.
Okay, right.
And Lori's just taken to a hospital. And Loomis, he's looking for Michael.
Right.
So, spoiler, he doesn't die.
Right. Right.
He doesn't die. And he's looking for Michael, and he sees this guy that he thinks is Michael.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, you, stop. And that kid just starts, like, going. And then he's, like, hunting him down or chasing him down. And then this cop car is coming super fast and basically runs into him. Okay. And then runs into another truck, and the truck blows up.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the funniest thing is, that's Ben Tramer.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, because the police are just like, that's just the local kid, Ben Tramer. And then Loomis like, oh, all right, anyway.
Yeah, so anyways, move on. That's so funny.
So it was hilarious because they just killed that kid, and like nothing happened.
Like, yeah, like nothing. Okay, anyways, moving on.
Anyway. So that's why I bring him up because they talked about him in the first one, and in the second one he gets killed.
That's hilarious.
So,
Poor Ben Tramer.
yeah,
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Shout out Ben. So Michael's tailing them, and again I'm like, how don't they notice?
Right. I know, right?
They're probably in their conversation, but I'm like, I'm always looking at my rear view,
Yeah, definitely.
so I would have seen him. But anyways,
That's just me.
yeah, that's just me. And then they're driving for a little bit. He's tailing them, and then it turns to nighttime, which I'm just like, did time just go that fast, or was
right. I know, right?
or was it almost day or nighttime?
Right.
So the girls get out, and they're going to their respective kids'
Mm-hmm.
houses. So
Yes, to babysit.
To babysit, right? So Lori's going to Tommy Doyle's,
Mm-hmm.
and Annie, she's going to Lindsay Wallace's house,
Yes.
right, which is across the street. So then you spawn into Sheriff Brackett, yeah, and Loomis, and they go to Michael's childhood home, right? And they're looking through it, and they notice that the dog has been killed.
Mm-hmm.
And they make the comment like that the dog was killed like for eating.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And then that's why the sheriff says, well, no man would have done this.
Mm.
And then Loomis says, well, he's not a man. He's
right.
just evil.
Yeah, definitely reinforcing that.
And he just says that he's got the devil's eyes and he's just pure evil, basically.
Right.
So the kids, or Tommy and Lori, they're watching TV, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Annie calls and says, hey, I got you a date with Ben Tramer. Ooh. And Lori's not too happy. I guess she's embarrassed more than not just being happy, just embarrassed.
Yeah, definitely.
And Tommy's trying to get her attention, but she's on the phone with Annie, and he peeks out the window and he notices Michael across the street, just standing there, menacingly.
Oh, 100%. This big burly dude in a mask, of course.
I always think of that SpongeBob episode where Patrick's like, he's just standing there, menacingly.
That's so true. That's literally what that scene is.
So she looks outside and doesn't see anybody. Again, just keeps like avoiding, like she hasn't actually like got face to face or really,
got a
good look at her, right? So Annie is staying with Lindsay Wallace across the street, and Michael spies on Annie. Again, kind of from that first person perspective.
Yeah.
And the dog is barking, and that's a sign, when the dog is just barking out of nowhere.
Yeah, nothing good comes out of that.
Nothing comes. And kills the dog. R.I.P. But in that moment, she spills some butter on her shirt.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Was she making popcorn?
Yeah, they were making popcorn.
Okay, there you go. I was like, why does she...
why is she messing with butter?
Yeah, why she got butter? So then she's trying to wash it. And it's kind of hard to explain, but the washer and dryer, they're like in a separate part of the house. Like, I don't even think it's connected to the house.
Right. It's kind of almost like a back house type of situation.
Right. And I don't know how this happened so quick, but he's able to, like, lock it, basically.
Yeah.
Like, from the outside in.
Yeah.
Right? So she's trying to wash it. And in that moment, the boyfriend calls, Paul.
Right.
And Lindsay's going to go find her. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what stops Michael from killing her.
Yeah.
Because Michael is there, and you see him on the reflection of the windows.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyways, Annie answers, and it's her boyfriend, Paul, and they want to have a rendezvous. Ooh.
Ooh.
We know exactly what it is, right?
Definitely.
So she wants to take Lindsay with her, but then she's like, no, I want to stay. So then she basically volunteers Lori.
Yeah.
To take care of...
You can watch the kids.
You can watch the kids.
Go have some fun real quick.
Exactly. So she takes her across the street to Tommy Doyle's house, and she's going to go pick up her boyfriend. Well, Michael's waiting for her in the car and kills her.
Yeah.
Choking her, and then I think stabs her in the throat.
Yeah.
Right? All the while, Tommy is watching TV, trying to scare Lindsay, the little girl, right? And looks out the window and sees Michael carrying Annie's body back inside the Wallace's house. And there's this hilarious scene where Loomis is like by the Myers house, and there's like these teenagers. They're like trying to Basically, like, oh, you go inside. No, you go inside. You're scared.
Definitely egg each other on.
Yeah, and exactly, egging each other on. And he's like, hey, kid, get your ass out of here.
That scene was so funny to me. I totally forgot about that, but when I saw that, I was like, that's hilarious.
It's so funny. It's so out of place, but then hilarious.
It worked.
It worked, yeah. All the while, Linda and her boyfriend, Bob, they show up to the Wallace's house. Lindsay, right? The little girls. And basically, they find that it's empty, but Michael's there because he took Annie's body there,
Right.
right? So the kids are having a fun time, and they realize that no one's gonna be coming home,
Right.
because they don't know where Annie is. She was supposed to come back, but
Yeah.
obviously she's dead. So they go upstairs and they have some fun time,
Yeah.
and then after that, Bob, he's going downstairs to get a beer for him and for Linda, sorry.
Yeah.
Linda. And Michael sneaks up and pins him to the wall with a chef's knife. Just boom. So this is like another thing of like how strong Michael is, because he's able to like choke, like pick him up basically with a knife and
just go through him.
Yeah.
Like nothing, like a piece of paper.
like a piece of paper, yeah. It is. So then another kind of funny part is where Michael, he then poses at Bob. So he has like a sheet wrapped around him, kind of to look like a ghost, but he has his glasses.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was so dumb, but it was funny.
That is dumb and funny.
And Linda is there and kind of trying to tease him, like showing her breast, saying, "Oh, don't you want to come?"
Yeah. Ooh.
And it's just like silence, dead silence, nothing. So she gets annoyed and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna call Lori across the street to find out where Annie is, because she still hasn't showed up."
Yeah.
And in that moment, Michael begins to strangle her with the phone cord. Oof. Tough. And Lori listens on the other end, but she's thinking it's a prank. Like,
right.
Oh, look at what I'm doing and look at what you're doing. Right. Basically, kind of thing. And I like this scene because after he's done killing her, you finally get a good shot of the mask. The iconic white mask.
Right. And up until then, we haven't had too much of a good look at him. I mean, you do kind of see the silhouette and all of that, but as far as like really good look, this is kind of the main thing.
Yeah, honestly. And I don't know. I was reading somewhere that the mask was like a last minute thing because it's a William Shatner.
Yes, I did hear that, which is just crazy. It's interesting how just things fall into place so perfectly sometimes.
I know.
It is so bizarre.
And, if you see the other ones, like Halloween 2, not the third one, because the third one's kind of like what they call an anthology.
Right.
So it doesn't have nothing to do with Michael.
Right.
But then you go to like Halloween 4 and 5, and like the mask just gets progressively stupider. So this is a good one. This is a good one.
Simple, but scary. It just hit all the marks for me.
Exactly. Everything you need. And all the while, Loomis discovers the car, finally. So now he's searching the streets, and now the final act is in motion. Ooh. So Lori kind of brushes off the phone call with Linda, but then she's like, I better go check up on her. And she's walking across the street to the Wallace's house, and there she finds her friends' bodies and their boyfriends. Well, I guess just Linda's.
Right.
Yeah. And you also see Judith's tombstone in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Right? So now she's scared, and she's, leaving the room, and in that moment, Michael slashes her, making her fall down the stairs. Right? And you get this good view silhouette of Michael on top of the stairs. And she's just looking up.
That's scary.
Yeah. So dazed and injured, she manages to escape the house. And honestly, I think Michael would have made a great jigsaw killer from Saw. Because somehow he's like able to like, in a short span of time, make like close them in. And
he was quick.
He was quick. And not only that, but then this fool's pretty smart that he even cuts the phone lines.
Yeah, he's like thinking ahead almost. Yeah. Like, let me make sure that I, do the job. If I'm going to do it, let me do it right.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. That's a funny way of putting it for sure.
So, with her like leaving the house, he's in pursuit now. She's screaming and she's knocking on a bunch of doors. Yeah. No one answers. or I think one kind of answers but doesn't open the door, saying like, get out of here.
Right.
And the kids are already asleep at the Doyles' house. But she knocks, and Tommy's coming down, opens the door, and she's screaming, saying, "Get upstairs, lock yourselves in." And closes the door, locks it, and tries to make a phone call. Phone line's dead, obviously.
Right.
It's a horror movie cliche.
Of course.
Of course.
No, totally.
And she notices that the window's open. So now she knows Michael's in the house. But I think what makes her a great final girl is that she's not like such a damsel in distress.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
She takes it up, like she finds a knitting needle.
Yeah. Right? No, she's not gonna take it, be down that easily.
Oh, heck no. And Michael sneaks up on her, trying to stab her, but she's actually able to stab him in the neck.
Right.
Which, let's be honest, if that would really happen, he'd be dead.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So now thinking that Michael's dead, she staggers upstairs to check on the kids. And Michael appears again.
Right.
So with Tommy and Lindsay, they're in the bathroom, and she hides in the bedroom closet. Mm-hmm. And then you get this great scene. It's just so tense, so iconic, and just scary because now she's fighting for her life. Now she knows it's like she's in danger.
Yes.
And he's, trying to open the door, and then he forcibly punches it, opening it, and, you can see his hand in there. Again, she's not this damsel in distress. She gets this coat hanger, unravels it, and stabs Michael in the eye.
Oh, get him.
And then I think he drops his knife, and she stabs him with the knife.
Right.
And then he's down, and she's out of the closet. But again, another horror movie cliche. How come these guys never get another stabbing?
Right. Yeah, totally.
If I'm in that situation, I'm stabbing him like at least 20 times. Make
sure. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. I know. Isn't that funny?
I mean, you just stabbed him with a knitting needle in the neck, and somehow that didn't kill him.
Yeah, I would be terrified.
So she sends Tommy and Lindsay to a neighbor's house to call the police. And again, this is, typical Michael. He rises again.
Of course.
And in that moment, you see the kids coming out of the house screaming. So Loomis now knows that where Michael is, basically, right? Yeah. And in that moment, he sees Michael strangling Lori, but she's able to break free and actually pulling off his mask.
Yes.
Yeah, revealing his face, which again, you don't get like a good view because it's dark, but you get, kind of a view what he looks like.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And Loomis, I mean, he went in blasting. He blasted first and asking questions second. Because he shoots them, then he tells them like, I don't actually think he actually tells them anything. I think he just starts shooting him. Yeah. He shoots them a total of 6 times.
Man, he got.
Yeah. Basically shoots him, and then he falls off the balcony.
Yeah.
And then I love this little dialogue with Lori and Loomis. This is the first time they've interacted.
Yeah.
Any interaction between them. And she says, "Was that the boogeyman?" And he's like, "Yep, that was. Ooh. That's as close as you're going to get to it." Yeah.
Ooh.
So, yeah, it just sends chills through your body.
It does. It almost just like, it's one of those moments in her, for her character where it's like, oh, okay, like, I know I wasn't seeing things.
Right.
This solidifies everything. And you're right. I like that she, fights back. She's not the damsel in distress. She's not, the person who runs 2 feet and then falls and trips down.
Exactly.
She's willing to fight back. And yeah, even though she was, this quiet, goody 2 shoes, I mean, she's got a feisty side to her.
Oh, exactly. For sure. And yeah, kind of like you said, she's a fighter, and she's not one of those like that takes 3 steps, falls.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah.
I hate that.
It's like, why did that always happen?
I know. I'm like, get up. Your adrenaline would not let you do that.
And then they're just like standing there, just like waiting for them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So she makes, to me, the best final girl.
I really like that. And I think you do make a really good point. I mean, overall, she's the best.
Yeah.
I think she's the best of the best. And she played this role amazingly.
Especially since it's her first role.
Yeah. I mean, killer performance, as far as I'm concerned.
Killer performance. So, after that little dialogue with Loomis, he goes to check on the body. And so, unsurprisingly, or surprisingly, of course, he's vanished.
Yep.
and then the theme music kicks in. And
Ooh.
damn, is it good.
It is so good. I wish we could play it for y'all right
I know.
now. I wish we had a piano to just.
It
But
just
it's
starts.
so good.
It's so good, and it's played so much, but I actually enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
I enjoy it too. I know some people might find it cringy or overdone, but I personally enjoyed it.
I love it. Yeah. So with that music kicking in, dee, 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 he stares off in the distance, I guess trying to see where Michael might have gone. And Laurie's just sobbing in terror.
Absolutely.
And boom, end credits.
Oof.
Oof.
Man, good one. This was a good movie this week.
This was a good one. A really good one.
Classic. I love this movie.
Especially, I'm biased. This is probably in my top 5 for sure, even probably top 3.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is just that good.
It's very good.
I've seen it at least more than 10 times.
Oh, yeah.
Easily. So, what I want to start doing with these horror movie reviews that we do, I want to have a kill count.
Oh, I love it.
So we have 5 in this movie with
Right.
2 dogs.
Yep.
And the 5 are Judith Myers, the unknown mechanic,
Yep.
Annie, her friend, Bob, which is Annie's boyfriend, and Linda.
Yep.
Or actually, sorry, Bob is Linda's boyfriend. We never went to Annie's boyfriend.
Oh,
She
right.
needed to pick him up.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So actually, sorry, that's Bob is Linda's boyfriend. And then you have the 2 dogs. So a total of 7.
Wow.
So Michael,
He got a,
he
got the roster.
Yeah. He wasn't effing around while he was in Haddonfield.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
It was straight business.
Yeah, exactly.
So, on this rating, out of 1 to 10, what do you give this one?
I would give this one an 8.
An 8? Wow.
Yeah, I would give this one an 8. I think this one is just the catalyst for so many movies. I mean, if you are, a horror movie fan, I think watching this as a precursor and then watching other ones like Friday the 13th or even It, you kind of see maybe some influences potentially. Yep. And I mean, kind of what we've been saying this entire time is that it's just so simple, but it's so effective.
So good.
It wasn't a lot of, I guess, effects, like special effects or anything like that. There weren't a ton of characters to begin with.
Yep.
It's, very simple plot, but just the little things like the music and the, white casted mask and things like that. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's a classic. This one is a classic. And of course, I'm a little biased because I do remember watching this as a child at Mom's store.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
We have maybe 5 CDs in rotation and we'd watch that one.
Yeah.
In the dressing room.
In the dressing room?
In the dressing room / movie room / the kids' hangout spot. Don't bother Mom.
While there was no customers.
Yeah, exactly.
And customers come in and then you got to get out.
Get out. Yeah, get out, pause it. All right, let's go back.
All right. That's so true.
So, this one's just a good one to me. So I'll give it 8. What do you give it?
I give it 10.
10. Okay. Go
Straight
ahead.
10. Awesome. Straight 10.
I think that's our first 10.
Yeah. Well, at least for me. I think it's not the greatest horror film. There probably are better ones.
Right.
This is my favorite. And the reason I like it so much is just, I think it does everything so well.
Yeah.
There's just the iconic music, the evil serial killer. You don't have any backstory and you don't need it.
Yeah.
You don't need it. You got this small cast of characters that are... Laurie is very endearing.
Yeah.
And the other girls are kind of not so much.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point.
Right.
So I think the small cast of characters, Loomis, he's this guy that knows Michael better than anybody else.
Right.
And basically, Michael is the cat to Laurie's mouse.
Yes.
But
that's a great way of putting it.
Loomis is the cat and Michael's the mouse.
Absolutely.
Because he's trying to get him back. So it's a big game of cat and mouse, right? So I don't know. I think this film just does everything well. And it's not the original one on my movie recommendation. I'll talk a little bit more. But this definitely is one that made it mainstream.
Yeah.
Right? And it kind of kicked off this 80s craze of rip-offs, which are Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Chucky.
Yeah.
It's basically everything's getting inspiration from this.
Yeah.
And based on my movie recommendation, Halloween took inspiration from this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
you got to check this one out. I tell you, but yeah, I give it a straight 10.
Good. I like that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
there's not many that do it for me like this, but this is one of them.
Man, this is a good movie.
This-
If you've never seen it for whatever reason, one, how have you gone this far without seeing it?
Exactly.
And two, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. And you can watch it for free pretty much on any platform, really.
Yeah, I watched it on Plex because it was free.
That's what I watched it.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
You can watch it for free. You really have no excuse.
No.
We recommend it.
Definitely. Yeah, there is no excuse. This is one of those films that you got to watch at least once in your life.
100%. Totally agree.
Exactly. So, what's your movie recommendation?
My movie recommendation, I think that if you enjoyed Halloween or maybe even enjoyed our description, have never seen it, I would definitely look into watching the first Chucky.
Ooh.
I love Chucky.
Yeah.
I think that's a great movie.
That's a great one.
And kind of how you mentioned, you could definitely see some influences from this movie. It's definitely a way different plot and, a lot more going on in that movie, but overall it's just enjoyable. I like that movie a lot.
That movie's really underrated in the terms of this is, I think, 1989.
Right.
And the way they're able to make Chucky move with animatronics at that time was just second to none, to be honest.
Man, honestly, for the time being, it's really good.
Oh, it's really good.
Well made. Chucky obviously is a little.
Well, it's hard to make a killer doll thing.
Yes, exactly. Without it being,
because it's just a ridiculous plot to begin with.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
There's very few things that do it well, and Child's Play is one of them. I think if you haven't seen the Twilight episode, Talking Tina.
Yeah,
that's another one that does it well.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
definitely, 100%.
So, yeah, I agree. That's a good one. I definitely recommend that one.
What about you?
So my movie recommendation, and this movie, I highly recommend you watch. Okay. You will like it. I like Halloween a little bit better just because I think it takes what this film did, but better.
Okay.
Right? Cool. If that makes sense. And that is Black Christmas.
Yes. That was on my to watch list.
Yeah.
So definitely watch
it. It's on Amazon Prime now, but you can also watch it for free on YouTube. So
perfect.
If anybody's interested in that. It's from the 1974 one. There's a 2006 remake. I've never seen that one, but the 1974. And basically, what I like about it, to sum it up real quick, is just sorority girls, basically. Okay. They're getting hunted down by a serial killer over the span of, I don't know, a couple days.
Okay.
Yeah. Around Christmas time.
Right.
And the main girl in that one is the lady from It, from the 1990 series.
Okay.
The one that is adult Bill's wife.
Yes.
She was like an actress, British actress. And when she comes to Derry and she runs into Pennywise at the gas station, remember? And her eyes are kind of like drawn into his. And then she's like, I don't know, like kind of like mute after the whole thing. And they're riding down the bike and then like she awakens.
Right.
Okay, so that's her.
Okay, cool.
And I forgot her name. I think it's Olivia Hussey.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's her name. Yeah. But anyway, she makes a really good final girl. Really good final girl. But I really like this. Basically, everything that's in Halloween is in Black Christmas.
Oh, okay. I like that.
The first angle, or first person camera angles, the not knowing who the serial killer is. This is a film of the 70s, so there's not as gory as like 80s, 90s, and 2000s movies. But basically, it's kind of like Halloween with the kills and all that. But I think I think Halloween does it better, but basically Halloween is a rip-off of Black Christmas.
Ooh, all right.
So, like you said in the beginning, if Halloween's the mother,
right,
this is the grandmother.
Totally. Okay.
This is the grandmother. Yeah. So, anyways, I checked that one out, and just to add one more thing, basically the story of Halloween and of Black Christmas is this urban legend of the babysitter and the man upstairs.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, it's a urban legend from the 60s. Babysitter, babysitting kids, obviously, and gets phone call, says, hey, check upstairs, check the kids. They brush it off. Again, they call, and now worried, they go and they see, the serial killer.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the basic plot of these movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I recommend that one. Highly
That's
recommend that one.
good recommendation. I love it. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. When we watch it, we need to make a review on that one.
Oh, I'm down. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Because I don't know if it was just a recency bias, but I gave that one a 5 out of 5 too.
Wow. Okay. So I'm excited. This
Yeah.
is gonna be good.
Yep. So, anyways, if you got nothing else to add,
I don't think I do. This was a really good pick. Honestly,
Yeah.
very classic. I'm very pleased with this one.
Yep.
It's just, it can't do no wrong in my eyes.
No,
It's a quick watch. You don't lose anything if you watch it. An hour and 30 minutes of your time, but it's gonna be fun.
it's a good watch.
It definitely is. But I don't have anything else to add besides that.
I don't either. So I think we can wrap up this episode.
Ooh.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
See ya.